bin Dr. Dania Schumann und ich heiße dich ganz herzlich willkommen zu The Science of Life, dem Podcast, der sich mit Themen aus der Ernährungswissenschaft, dem Ayurveda, Yoga, aus der Psychologie und Persönlichkeitsentwicklung beschäftigt. Lass uns gemeinsam unsere Fragen ans Leben mit Verstand, Herz und Humor betrachten. Welcome back to another episode of The Science of Life. It is going to be in English again, as I had the pleasure to interview the wonderful Ellen Arthur. And I met Ellen at a yoga studio in Bali called The Practice. And she's not only teaching yoga there, but she also leads the Kirtan. So for those of you who do not know what Kirtan is, it's a call and response singing. So you have a leader that sings a verse of a mantra and the crowd is repeating it. And it's a beautiful way to practice devotion to the divine, if you want to call it like this, or whatever name you want to choose. And it has an incredible power to transform our state of mind. And there are actually studies that are now investigating in the same way that there's research that investigates how meditation can change the mind. There's now research coming that investigates how much mantra and especially the singing of a mantra can transform certain parts in the brain. And I had the pleasure to go to Kirtan with Elle, and it had such a beautiful effect on me. I'm familiar with the concept of Kirtan, but Elle has just like a wonderful, beautiful voice, and she leads Kirtan in a way that you can really feel her devotion, and she has a unique ability to bring a group together and hold space for this group. And she always gives information on the mantra you're actually singing, so that gives you a wonderful way to connect to the Sanskrit words as well. So in this interview we talk about how Ellen got into mantra singing. And we also talk about what a mantra actually is. We go a little bit deeper into the power of Kirtan. And also we talk about how you can use a mantra and why we have to use it with a consistent repetition. We talk about Ellen's favorite mantra and her practice. And we will also give you a few tips on how you can start to practice mantra. And for those of you who associate Kirtan with a bunch of crazy people clapping their hands and singing like crazy, I talked to Ellen after the interview, and we both had to laugh because we never thought that we will be one of those people, and it takes time to get into this practice. But once you experience this immense joy it can give you and all the devotion that naturally comes with it, it's such an incredible and powerful tool. So what I wanted to add to this is give yourself the time to let this practice evolve gradually. And we often only associate asana, or maybe meditation and breathing techniques with yoga, but there are so many ways to practice yoga, and kirtan and mantra is an important part of it too, and it's the path of Bhakti Yoga, the devotional yoga. So without talking too much about it now, I want to welcome Ellen Arthur to the Science of Life podcast. Hello, Ellen. I'm really happy that you're here with me to do the interview about mantra. So, welcome to the Science of Life podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And I would love to start for you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to yoga and to practice mantra.
Okay, so my name is Ellen. I'm originally from Australia, and I've been living in Bali for a year and a half now, teaching at a yoga studio called The Practice. And here we teach traditional tantric hatha yoga, and that wasn't my first introduction to yoga. I first started, I think, in around 2011 or 12. I first started practicing yoga, and it was power hot vinyasa yoga, and I was quite obsessed from the beginning, I guess you could say. I was going every day, sometimes twice a day, and yeah, it was just such a pivotal part of my life, and I didn't realize how much I needed a practice that helped me to become more embodied and to feel my body become stronger and stronger, and ultimately my mind also, became stronger and stronger as I found practices like the ones that I'm doing at the moment. So Hatha Yoga has really transformed the way that I practice, and also I would say transformed my life, because there's an emphasis on the mind and all of our reactivity and our judgments and our fears, and how can our yoga practice help us move beyond those things. So I'm really in an incredible place right now.
Beautiful. And maybe I have to tell everyone how I met you, because I met you at the practice, the yoga studio you're currently teaching. And not only how you teach a yoga class is for me like a really unique way, and I can feel you're rooted deep down in the tradition. And what was also really special to me, you do the kirtan at the practice. And for me personally, it took me a while to get into singing mantra, but there's a real beauty in it. And going to kirtan and listening especially to your voice was a pivotal moment for me. And maybe you can share with us a little bit more about how you got into singing and how you got into singing mantras and doing kirtan.
Amazing. I thank you. That's a really beautiful compliment. I have been singing, I would say, my entire life since I was really young, and I always knew that it would be in my life, in some way. For years I was doing gigs and I was singing out in public a lot, cover gigs and jazz gigs and wedding gigs, and I enjoyed that a lot. And then once I did my teacher training in 2015 with Octavio, I was introduced to mantra. He would often chant a mantra called Om Asatoma, and that blew me away, that I could, do this practice that I love so very much. I could have my feet firmly planted in my yoga practice, and I could also incorporate my love for music and singing and connection in this practice as well. So it took me probably 2 or 3 years to make that transition from singing in weddings and singing in pubs and bars, to then beginning to slowly transition into chanting mantra and chanting and sharing mantra through kirtan. So I was introduced to it in 2015, and probably by 2016 and 17 I started chanting through kirtan, and I don't do any pop gigs anymore. It's and I do not miss them at all. Sorry, but I just sing devotional music now, and it's incredible. It's given me such purpose.
Beautiful. And maybe for all those who are wondering now, what is a mantra? Mm-hmm. And maybe you could go a little bit more into this, and what's so special also, not about only repeating a mantra, but also singing a mantra.
Yeah. So there's so many ways that you can approach this question of what is mantra. And how do we do it? The way that I know is that mantra is these sounds and syllables that we're chanting or speaking or singing or internally silently repeating. They're all sounds of the divine and divinity, and help us connect to that part of ourself that is inherently divine and sacred. And the way that I use mantra is through the language of Sanskrit, so a language that has been around for thousands of years, as many of you probably know. But it was a heard language rather than a language that humans made up. So this Sanskrit language was revealed in deep states of meditation, and these yogis and these great rishis and seers, they would hear these sounds. They would hear the sound of peace. They would hear the sound of unconditional love. They would hear the sounds of courage, of power. And that's where the Sanskrit language was born. And so when we chant them, these sounds and these syllables, we are able to connect into that power. The mind has the capacity to quieten, to slow, to become more stable and rooted in the present moment. And what is revealed is our inner nature, that nature of connectedness, community, a sense of peace, tranquility, that is so very present within us. It's just often we forget. And what I find is that singing mantra, say in the form of kirtan, is just an incredible practice to bring a sense of community, to share, and to also rejoice and celebrate our voices. You know, it's something that I think that we don't do enough of, using our voices and exercising them in a way that brings great peace and tranquility. So, like I said, there's many ways you can use mantra, and I'm sure we'll continue to talk about that as well.
Yeah, beautiful. And for those who don't know what kirtan actually is, you had to answer the question recently, and maybe you want to repeat what you said.
I was asked this question maybe a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, I don't know what kirtan is. I think it's just so baffling because it's such a simple practice, and I was getting all up in my head about what is kirtan, and I wanted to have some beautiful and eloquent response, and it just wasn't coming out. So I don't even know what I said, but really kirtan is a way in which we are able to use our voices to chant to God, to chant to divinity, to love, to passion, to power, so that we can recognize all of these qualities that are already within us, and we just strengthen them as we chant the names of God. And I know that might not sit so well with some people, but it's taken me a little while even to enable that God word to sit well with me. But the more that I practice in this way, the more that I recognize that God isn't anything outside of myself, but simply an aspect of myself that is present always. So what I'm chanting to is my own inner teacher, my own inner guide, my own inner guru, and I feel like I'm becoming more of a well-rounded, nourished, loving, compassionate, less judgmental human being because of this practice, because of the repetition of these mantras that we're chanting. The mind begins to disentangle itself from itself, and it's so fascinating to watch that unfold. I actually see or feel, or I feel that unfolding as I'm chanting every Sunday night in Kirtan. I'm having my own experience as well. I'm fighting with my mind sometimes, and this practice in particular has really given me such strength, such resilience, such commitment to myself. It's incredible.
Yeah, and I think it's so beautiful to share that with other people, right? Like, not only you share the gift of your voice. So for those who don't know, Kirtan is like a call and response singing. So someone sings the mantra and the group repeats it. And I think also that there's something really healing when we do it together, because it's sometimes hard enough to raise your own voice or to find your own voice,
yes.
Right? And just to do it in the safety of a group, it's so much easier to experience yourself. And even if you feel like you cannot sing, you can still listen, right? And the others do it for you in a way. They do it with you, and it's a group experience. And I find that there's always something really healing about a group. And this is like, for me, how I experience Kirtan personally, and also with the God word, right? And to bow down. For me, it helped me a lot to just cultivate this feeling of being grateful. And that made me bow my head. Like, you can just like sing to how beautiful nature is. You can sing to how grateful you are that you have wonderful friends or a healthy family, whatever, right? So this is, for me, like, it was my first step to get into that feeling, and like to kind of not put the God word in the middle or in the focus. So for all those of you who feel like this is not something that sits well with me, there's so much that is greater than us that we can still sing to or be grateful for or whatever. And this is what gives us the reward, right? To, like you said, to help us to become more passionate, compassionate, and beautiful. Thank
Amazing.
you.
Yeah.
I would also go, or I would like to go a little bit more into why it is, in a way, really important to have consistency. Like, we call that japa, like the repetition of the mantra. And it's not only the repetition, we do it like once, but why is it kind of important to also do it, if you can, on a daily basis, or at least like to have a, like you said, like every Sunday it's the time for Kirtan. Why is it so important that we do it repeatedly?
Like anything, I think when we're learning anything, the power of learning and becoming good at anything is being able to repeat and to do it again and again and again. So even if you're trying to become a better tennis player, you're going to have to need to get on the tennis court and hit some tennis balls. We can't expect to have an experience of mantra once and then be like, great, now I'm done with it. This practice is and always will meet you exactly where you're at. And every single day we are, showing up with a different level of awareness, a different level of capacity, a different level of emotional intelligence or integrity. So it's essential for us to practice, and let's say in the form of mantra japa, where you're chanting mantras repeatedly, say 108 times. That is supposed to, and it's designed to be a daily practice, because what you begin to do is strengthen your relationship with the mantra that you're chanting. And that means that you're also strengthening your relationship to the powers, the Shakti, the intention within that mantra. You're strengthening it, and you're strengthening the aspects of that mantra that you're trying to strengthen within yourself. So say if you're chanting a mantra this is a good example, the Maha Mrityunjaya mantra. It's a mantra to Shiva, to fire, to power. May we chant this mantra as a way to break ourselves free from the things that keep us bound, the fears that riddle our lives, the fear of death, the fear of decay and disease. So if you chant that mantra once, that's not really going to have much of an effect on you, on your being, on your relationship to fear. So if you chant it 108 times every day for the rest of your life, then I would say that that's going to have major impact on your life, your well-being, your health, your relationships, your personal ones, but also your relationship to yourself. So repetition is, I would say, the heartbeat of this practice of mantra. Even if it's kirtan style, I like to sit in a mantra for 20 minutes. If it was really up to me, I would probably sit in a mantra for an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours or 4. Because we just keep breaking apart these layers and boundaries, these layers and boundaries of illusion and disillusionment that the mind creates. So the more that we repeat and the more that we continue to break these, these things that keep us bound, like our fear, like our judgments, like our jealousy and our greed, our hatred, our anger, the mantras just begin to dissolve our attachments to those things that keep us in suffering and keep us in habituation. So repetition, the mantra is great, but without the repetition, it doesn't give you this forward momentum and the full force of the mantra.
Yeah, really beautiful. And like what you said about the mind, right? There's so much stuff going on in the mind, and half of the time we're not even aware of it.
Yeah.
And mantra can be a really effective practice to be aware of what's in your mind, right?
Yeah.
Because as
It's
soon
scary.
as you because as soon as you lose it, right, like or your mind is drifting, like you come back to the practice, right? And you come back to repeating the mantra. And just the same thing in meditation. I think it's even more easy because like the mantra guides you in a way. And there are even studies right now that like can prove that mantra transforms a certain part in our brain. And of course, for like a sustainable transformation, once like you repeat it every day, it will shift something in your brain. It takes time, right? But it's really interesting that like neuroscience is getting there as well. Absolutely. To have a look at those parts in our brain that are actually transformed through practices like meditation and mantra. Yeah. Maybe you can share with us for people who want to start with mantra and they have no idea how to start now, they don't know which mantra to pick and if they should sing it, maybe they feel uncomfortable singing it. Do you have any tips, like maybe first repeating it, or how would you approach mantra for someone who has never done it before?
Mm-hmm. I can only really speak from my experience, and then also what my teacher would say to this is that it's really important to have a teacher who knows how to guide, help, assist you in choosing mantra, in being able to understand its power, what its potential is, and not to just pick a mantra because you like it. It's beautiful. There's so many, devotional music at the moment is at an all-time high, and so it should be. And I'm not saying don't listen to mantras that really speak to you, but if you're listening to a kirtan styled, melodic, really beautiful call and response type of mantra, that's great. That's a practice in and of itself. But if we're speaking to perhaps a mantra japa practice where you're repeating one mantra 108 times, you have to be really, really ready for what that mantra is going to unfold within you. So to my knowledge, there are a few mantras that are unlocked, I guess you could say, that anyone is able to access. And then there are also mantras that are locked that you need to be initiated into. So those are the mantras that you need a guru who has their own mantra practice, a very strong one, to be able to guide you into a mantra that is locked and a mantra that perhaps not very many people are aware of. So what I started with was the Gayatri mantra, and I would repeat that mantra 108 times, but 3 rounds of 108. And initially I just began by first learning it, and that's a separate experience from the practice of it. Learn it. Learn the syllables, learn the meter, learn how to correctly pronounce these Sanskrit words. And then how is that mantra, how is it going to personally impact your life? So you begin to journal about this mantra. It becomes, okay, what does this mantra mean? How is it going to enliven my life? What areas of my life need awakening? What areas of my life are perhaps areas that I really want to focus on transforming? And then you start to create a really personal relationship with this mantra. And then you can begin to perhaps chant this mantra. Say you set a timer for 5, 10, 15 minutes and you're chanting this mantra out loud. And it becomes a vocal and a physical experience, because when we're chanting out loud, we're using the breath, we can hear ourselves. There's a certain level of vibration that we're invoking, and it's a felt experience. And then once we start to embody the mantra on a more vibrational level, then it's advised to move toward mantra japa, where you have mala beads and you can chant this mantra. Say I'm using the example of the Gayatri mantra, and you would chant it 108 rounds vocally, and then until you start to feel that this mantra is pulsing. And this may take 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, until you start to take it into a more internal, silent repetition of the mantra. So what I would say is that we should never really rush this experience. It's a very slow and unfolding and sacred practice that if we rush it, we begin to dampen its power. It's also said to not practice when you know you only have 20 minutes and your practice actually takes 30. So you never want to put this time restraint on your practice, otherwise it begins to, like I said, dampen its power. And then, of course, go to Kirtan. Go to Kirtan if what I just suggested, the chanting the mantra vocally with the mala beads isn't something that you're quite ready for or drawn toward. Go to Kirtans. I'm sure there's so many around these days, and get your mantra practice in there, and listen to it. I listen to mantra a lot, when I'm in the shower, when I'm hanging out in my room, mantra is on. When I'm cleaning, mantra is on. So there's many different ways you can kind of listen to it, experience it, and practice it.
Yeah, beautiful. I think also, just listening to mantra, it's like a powerful thing to do. So even if you don't have your practice yet, it's really powerful to just, like you said, listen to it first and get the mantra in your head, in your body. And also what most people forget is we have the bija mantras, like the seed mantras. Om is like the most important one. It's so easy, right? Yeah. Just to have the om, 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 or like ram, ram, ram. It's so easy to repeat that. Like the Gayatri mantra is a pretty long one.
Yeah.
But as you said, I also think there should be also always an intention behind it, like to know what are you repeating actually, and what you're doing it for, and not even like to be attached to the result, right?
That's so important.
That it will free you from all your problems or issues, whatever, but just to repeat it out of joy, right? Because it's a practice that you offer. I think that's another important point for me. And not to be too attached to like and dislike, because I remember when my teacher gave me my mantra, I didn't want it. I wanted the Soham mantra, right?
Yes. Yeah, I know that.
I wanted another one, right? And like it took me a while to actually get into the practice of this mantra, and I did it anyways, right? Yeah. So I was like, okay, he said that's the one, so I'm going to repeat it. Yeah. And it took me a while to fully understand why he gave me that exact mantra, and I'm so thankful.
Absolutely.
Today he gave it to me, and I'm really I thank myself too that I just did it anyways without me being like, too much in my head and just resenting it. So it's not about ego, it's a lot about also to trust. And I know that many of you don't have a teacher, so like Ellen said, just go with something that you want or you need in your life, and I also think that the Gayatri mantra is like a beautiful one to start with, because it's unlocked to guide many people, and it's, I think, a mantra we need, especially in these times, and we all have parts in ourselves that need healing, so that's a beautiful one. And wonderful, thank you. I would like to ask you to, because I know you shared a bit about the mantra you started with, but I would also like to ask you what is currently your favorite mantra, or the mantra, not to say your favorite mantra, but the one that is right now very important to you, and why?
So I would say the mantra that I'm chanting as part of my home practice is my, I guess you could say, my favorite, just because it is I was initiated into this mantra toward the end of last year, so it's new to me, but it's so far in my practice, this has been the most profound experience of really my life as a yoga practitioner, being initiated into a mantra specifically for myself based on all of the effort and all of the work that I've done prior to being initiated. My teacher was able to see that, okay, the next step for me is this mantra, and there's guidelines around that. You need to do it so many times, and it needs to be a constant commitment every day. Every morning, actually, I wake up, I practice, and the mantra is the centerpiece of my practice. And then, so that would be my favorite, I guess. It's weird to call it that, but not to say that it's the most enjoyable, because it actually isn't. It really grinds mental gears having to sit with the same mantra every single day and every single morning and chant it. I do 10 rounds of 108, so it's a lot of repetitions. It's not as long as the Gayatri, it's a little bit shorter, but so it's doable. But the level of discipline, commitment, tapas is what you would call it in Sanskrit, is so great, is so grand, and I've noticed that it ripples out into my life. I used to get so frustrated of having to really commit to things or to really overexert myself, and now with this practice that I do every morning, this commitment, I've just noticed that I flow with a lot more grace throughout the day, because I began the day with such commitment, such discipline, such devotion, such power, that the rest of the day just begins to unfold, I guess you could say, with less resistance from my mind. So that mantra is really, really powerful to me. And it's a locked mantra, so that's why I was initiated into that one. And then I guess I would say, I always feel like I change into a different person when I'm chanting to Ganesh. Ganesh just brings out a different aspect of my personality that doesn't really get much airtime. And I love that about chanting to Ganesh, who is the Hindu god or deity that represents us being able to overcome the obstacles that keep us from really going after life. So I must have many obstacles to overcome or something, because Ganesh there's so much power when I'm chanting to Ganesh.
Beautiful, thank you. So one question I also like to ask, and I know it's a pretty profound question, but I know that a lot of people struggle a lot, and it's really interesting to get to know a little bit about different life paths. So I would like to ask you what your life path is, or how you approach your individual dharma.
I would say that my dharma, my purpose, is wrapped up in my my ability to sing and connect with people through my voice. For a long time, I was so hard on myself about my voice. I never thought it was good enough, or I would just ridicule it, compare it to other people. And then when I started to chant mantra and walk down this path of singing and my voice and other people's voices as being sacred and using the voice as a healing modality, then I really began to, people would respond to my voice in a very different way when I started to love it and enjoy it and appreciate it. So I think I think it's definitely my purpose in life to be doing exactly what I'm doing right now, which is sharing the teachings of the tradition, honoring the lineage that I'm a part of, the Sri Vidya lineage, and sharing these ancient techniques and tools and yoga practices and meditations and mantras that have so much power, so much potential, so much self-knowledge within them, the capacity to bring so much healing. And I feel really honored to be able to stand in the position that I am right now and be of service to the world in that way. And ideally, I'm traveling the world and chanting mantra and leading kirtans and helping people to recognize that inherently we are always at rest and at peace regardless of our external circumstances. So that's a big part of my purpose, is to sing and to chant and to lead with love and be as human as possible, be as humble as possible, honest and raw, and help people along the way.
Beautiful. And we are really lucky because you agreed to sing a mantra for us, and I'm going to do that in another special episode, so you will get to hear Ellen sing. And so thank you a lot for the interview.
It's my pleasure.
It was so nice to have you. It's nice to be able to experience your kirtan, your yoga classes, and for everyone who's on Bali, go to the practice Sunday evening, 6 p.m. Kirtan with Ellen.
Thank you.
And of course, I will link in the show notes where you can find Ellen on social media. And thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you, everyone.
I really hope you enjoyed the interview. And for me, it is so important to share with you that there are many different practices. And I want to also give you the opportunity with this podcast to learn about yoga in many different ways and to get a new perspective on it. And I think we each have to find our own practice, but it helps sometimes to explore what a practice can look like and to get inspiration from the practice of other people. If you don't follow me on Facebook or Instagram yet, you can find me on Facebook at Dr. Dania Schumann and on Instagram at Dania Schumann. And I really enjoy getting to know what you thought about this episode, what you could take away from it, and therefore I will be happy if you leave a comment if you like the episode, or if you want to point out something that was especially important to you. You can also get in touch with me through my website, which is daniaschumann.com, and you can subscribe for the newsletter there, and we can stay in touch this way. And I want to say thank you. Thank you for listening, thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing this journey. Namaste and with love.